Hello, wonderful people, and welcome to my world. Today we wanna see a BBC Africa documentation about Sudan, because I already mentioned something from Palestine. Now I wanna mention something from Sudan, and probably in the future we'll also make or watch a documentary about Congo. So, Inside Sudan's Forgotten War, BBC Africa Eye documentary. There will be also a trigger warning because there will be shootings and abuse will show, and that you're just being aware that it will be a tough documentary what we are watching here. And but for me, always it is important that we talk about that we get aware of it, and this is why I'm watching it and recording myself and give my 5 cents to it, to be honest. And yeah, of course, if you like my channel, I would appreciate a subscription. And what do you think about or what do you think we could help Sudan or Congo or other countries where they are in the global south and suffering a lot of the influence of the Western world? What do you think about it? How to change certain things and help them? Write it in a comment. I would appreciate that. And of course, if you like the video, a like would be amazing. So let's start.
For over a year, a forgotten war has been raging in Sudan.
بشكل شخصي هل تعرف حق
عبد الله مدفون ابراهيم مدفون هنا تفضل انا ده ما دفنتك.
Thousands of Sudanese have lost their lives and millions more have been displaced.
في ناس انا قدامك ده مركز ناس الجيور ماتوا انا.
Okay, I will do my image a little bit there, but there are people who died in their home from hunger. Just I move me a little bit back because they talking in a different language. I don't know which one, maybe Arabic, but I'm not 100% sure. I think now it's better.
طلعتهم من البيوت عشان ما يعرفين جوا البيت. طلعتهم انا قدامك ده طلعت ناس.
18 million people are suffering from hunger.
أسأل إيه الأيانين دارين علاج والعلاجات ذاتها ما في البيوت زي الناس ما في أكل زي الناس ما في ناس قاعدين تعبانين أسأل
including over 3 million children.
The worst thing I can imagine covering is this kind of human suffering.
Inside Sudan's Forgotten War. My heart it's breaking already because always when I see how the suffering of children is, it's incredible because this is for me, children are precious because they are our future, and how we that they need to suffer in these conditions. It's for me, it's kind of incredible. Let's see what we learned today.
The Iraqi forces couldn't make any progress.
Over his career as a war reporter,
It's not long before they spot gunmen taking up positions.
Feras Kilani has covered some of the world's most dangerous conflicts, from Iraq to Libya. In 2022, he visited Sudan for the first time to cover the protests. Despite controls on local media, people were hopeful of bringing change.
The local journalists, Sudanese, they are controlled in a really, really bad way by the army and security. And this is the kind of journalism we do.
It can sometimes be easier reporting as international journalists, but amid the protests, Feras and his team were arrested, blindfolded, and detained. The Sudanese government then banned foreign
when I see the scenic now with the houses and all that and with the smoke, what I'm thinking all the time, do people still try to live there and try to barricade? Because for me, it's a scenario what it's shown now, like in how it's called, The Walking Dead. So where like apocalypse is arriving and everybody fighting for their lives and all that stuff, and it seems like a scene of that. And I can't really imagine, since we are here in a safe haven, in Portugal and Germany also, or Europe in general. But for me, it's crazy a little bit, or to unimaginable to see how people in this condition could live anyway. I can't imagine it because I never was in this place. I never was in this kind of condition in my 31 years on Earth. And because poverty over there and poverty here in Europe, it's also a different thing. So it's my mom is a single mom, and we was 3 black children in Germany, so the racism was high and all that stuff. But this kind of condition we never had. We never had the condition that we suffer, that we didn't had food, that we didn't had water and all that stuff. So for me, it's always incredible when I see these pictures that I can't really picture them. Like in my mind, I can't feel them. I can't be sad and all that kind of feelings. And like I said before with the children, it's breaking my heart. But to see these pictures, I can't really imagine how the suffering in these conditions are working. I wanted to have that in my life, but I want to try to understand the conditions, because a lot of people in Europe say, no, we can't handle those people. We can't handle refugees from these areas, and on and on and on. But the most of the people who are saying that, they never watch this kind of things, and they will not understanding why people in these areas suffering so much, and they can't picture it. I can't picture it, but still, I would never say that we can't have refugees in Europe, because we need to help them, because a lot of things happening because of our weapons, France, UK, Germany, USA, they are sending weapons to them to fight their fights. And this is what we need to acknowledge. And everybody who is saying, no, this is the issue of this country, it is not just the issue of the country, because these countries or this organization where they are fighting, they get funded by the Western world. And this is what we need to understand.
Journalists altogether. They were forced to watch from abroad as civil war raged. Without much media coverage, it has been impossible to get reliable information. But estimates put the number of civilian deaths at over 10,000. After a recent victory, the government finally began to let journalists back in. Feras was one of the few invited back by the very people who had him arrested.
10 months on the war here in Sudan. The army start to push back. Fierce fighting is still ongoing, house to house and street to street. But it's difficult to see any ending side to the violence.
Just a few hundred meters from the rebel Rapid Support Force in Khartoum, and watched over by a government.
I need to stop again, because this kind of scenario, for me, it's incredible, because these are scenarios what we are seeing in like a movie like Resident Evil, where they, being in the desert, have abandoned houses and all that stuff. It's, for me, it's like picture on a movie, but it's in real life. It is this footage from March. So it's that we have so many parallel worlds going on in our world. It's, unbelievable somehow.
Minder, Feras and his team were allowed into Omdurman. Once it was a bustling city of over 2 million. Today, it is a ghost town.
The first shock for us was the amount of destruction. Several districts completely destroyed by warplanes, artillery. It's really, really sad to see. You know, the old market in Umdurman is one of the most beautiful places in the country. It was looted completely and destroyed.
With mortars still landing in the area, the government army deploys significant reinforcements. Hidden in the streets and alleys are a few civilians who haven't fled the fighting.
They just stay because they don't want to, after this age, to leave their homes. Every one of them has a shocking story to tell about what happened there.
Those who remained seemed fearful to talk, but Feras managed to find one man prepared to speak about the suffering that he had witnessed. Locals were unable to properly bury loved ones killed in the fighting. Instead, they created makeshift cemeteries on waste ground like this one, says Mukhtar al-Badri.
كلهم اغلبهم مدنيين وده حي بس بانت شركه فقط واحد احسب باقي الاحياء كلهم ميتين من الدعم السريع بالغنابل
المواطنين.
ايوه المواطنين لانه المدفن الرئيسي الدعامه حابسينه انه ما يندفن زول لو اندفن اي حد.
About 150 people have been buried in this cemetery. Names have become simply numbers. Feras heard of many other cemeteries like this scattered throughout the city.
بس إذا عم بتقول أنت كمان في بعضهم راح بالدانات بالقصف ممكن يكون قصف من الجيش؟
لا الجيش ما يقصف إلا في محل الخصف لكن هؤلاء يقصفون في أي اتجاه. في جيش يقصف الجامع؟ ما ممكن مستحيل.
بشكل شخصي هل تعرف أحد؟
هذا ناس كثير أنا أعرفهم لك. محمد مدفون هنا، عبد الله مدفون هنا، إبراهيم مدفون هنا، جلال مدفون هنا. فضل أنا بس ما دفنت لسه.
The thing this is incredible awful to see that they get buried and just become numbers. But how I review history also in the African Black history, that there are a lot of people who are unknown in the Black history because we don't have the same words in the world like white people or European people. And how I grew up with the massive graves of slavery in all this awful Black history and European history, what they're cursing. Or if I go here, like in Portugal, in a museum, what I really didn't like was that they make pictures of African villages and don't name them. But you know the name of the journalist, or you know the name of who is interviewing, but most of the time you don't know the name of the civilians being on the picture. And if we would do that in a European context or in a Western context, we portray European and Western people on the picture. We name them. But most of the time, if we have Black people on it, we don't name them. And this is a crucial issue for historical marks, that we don't know the background of the people. We see just the pictures, but we don't have the names of it. Even they don't have a surname or whatever, but they have a first name. You can write it down. You can do your journalism on point and saying, what is your name? We will do it on the picture. And to have a landmark of people in the Black community, in the African community, for our historical landmark, but in the same time, we don't do that. And this is a pity, because these are graves with just numbers. And this, since I'm I'm half German and grew up in Germany. We have this crucial historic landmark with the Holocaust, and there are people we don't know about because they asked. They was created to become numbers, and this is always crucial if we forget the names, because in a Jewish belief is that you die once on your physical state, but then you die the second time when your name is vanished. And for them, they died immediately because nobody knows their name and nobody knows the physical body, they are vanished from Earth right now. But Hitler, for example, he's still alive nowadays because we still know his name. And we should try to forget, or not to forget, but to make a new history and maybe evaluate more freedom fighters than the people who are doing war crimes.
The civil war has its origins in the ousting of President Omar al-Bashir in 2019. The country entered a spiral of instability, with tension escalating between the military and civilian leaders. A transitional government was formed by both sides, but it was overthrown after a military coup on October 25, 2021. The Sovereignty Council took over governing the country, with Abdel Fattah al-Burhan acting as de facto ruler. His deputy was the commander of the Rapid Support Forces, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemeti.
احنا مستحيل يحصل بيناتنا قتال اصلا، ولا في زول بيدعو لحاجه، ولا في زول بيدعو لاي خلاف. سلم يا برهان.
Despite the reassuring words, a power struggle between the two leaders erupted into a full-blown civil war in April 2023. The violence that followed engulfed huge areas of Sudan and has left the country on the brink of collapse. After only a few weeks of fighting, just a handful of the 88 hospitals in Khartoum remained open, according to Sudan's Doctors Union. Aliyah Hospital is one of the most important, not only in Omdurman, but in the whole of Sudan. It was still repeatedly attacked, according to Dr. Manahel. Despite constant danger, medical staff refused to leave the hospital and abandoned their patients.
اتضرب قسم العملية عندنا، اتضرب الأكسجين عندنا، اتضربت حاجات كبيرة، حاجة ميجر يعني حاجات فايتال للعيانين.
أساسية لعملكم، منها غرفة العمليات ومنها غرفة
العمليات، الأكسجين، دي أهم حاجات يعني.
هذه قصفت بقذائف هاون.
الغسيل الكلوي، دي كلها اتضربت. إحنا حاولنا رغم القذائف دي إنه نصلح مكان يعني عشان نقدر نستمر، والحمد لله. لكن التدوين كان كثير شديد يعني، والجرحى كان بيجوا كميات كبيرة.
Feras managed to find a few locals who agreed to talk to him about other potential war crimes, including allegations of rape by soldiers from the Rapid Support Forces.
دق النساء، عرفنا السرقة يا ابني، دق النساء ودق الرجال العجايز وتهديد الناس وتهديد الفتيات البريئات، سلوكهم ما كويس. فنحن والله السرقة يا ابني المال بيمشي وبيجي، لكن طعن الشرف ما كويس. هسه يعني حالتنا صعبة شديد، والحمد لله هسه غايته جانا الجيش، ونشوف ربنا ينصر الجيش السوداني وقلوبنا معاه، والميليشيات لو دار تحكيمنا نحن تاني ما تحكيمنا.
Understand.
The thing is, it's not just that the women and the girls are vulnerable, and also the humans in the queer community, they're vulnerable. the issue is that in this kind of conditions, rape is one of the highest condition for women and vulnerable people in this kind of conditions, because it's kind of a free state to do everything, because there's no punishment, because you don't have a legal or a law action anymore applying in this condition. So we need to always imagine, if something like war happens or civil war happens, that the high number and the great number of rape and of abuse, physical abuse in this kind of conditions is super high. So, and if someone is against the military regime right now, they can also be threatened to get killed in this moment if you say something, if you're not obliged to them and saying, no, I'm obedient and I will do everything what you want. So resistance on this high level, it's crucial and it's dangerous for them. And then you need to choose. Do you get like mentally completely destroyed, or you fight for it and risk your life for it? It's one of the it's just one of the another, and it's so sad that they not really have any opportunity of a sustainable living to make in this kind of condition.
Understandably, Afaf is nervous, talking about the horrific things she witnessed.
في ناس انا قدامك ده مركز ناس الجوع ماتوا انا طلعتهم من البيوت عشان ما عارفين جوا البيت طلعتهم انا قدامك ده طلعت ناس.
Afaf's neighbor Mohammed Abdel Muttalib claimed to have witnessed incidents of sexual abuse by rebel soldiers.
كتير شديد. أغلبية الشغل بتاعهم كان الكلام الفارغ ده. دي حقيقة. أنا قلت لك بمسكوا النسوان يعني بيدخلوهم جوا بيت. استعملوا معاهم أي شيء. أنت دايرة كده. أنت تشيل حاجاتها. ما دايرة يشيلوا قروشك ويدقوكي ويمرقوكي. في النهاية رجعوا يحلقوهم صلعة. وبعدين بيصوروا الحياة دي ويرسلوها لأهلهم. ما في ناس شالت يعني خمت، كسروا البنوك، كسروا شنو، شالوا محل الذهب، شالوا ملوا عربات بتاعت ناس، شالوا معاه نسوان، شافوا فاتوا بهم. ويقالوا انه مشوا استمسروا فيهم هناك باعوهم للناس. يعني الشعبات اللي هنا في.
Through the war, not even churches and mosques have been spared the shells and the bombs. At this Coptic church, very little was left intact. There is no sign of the congregation in the surrounding area. Like most of the local population, they seem to have simply disappeared. The plight of this
But what I always see also in the war in Gaza, that they always do like the rest with to put press on. Is it a safety thing, or is it not even more dangerous for them to being there out as a press to and doing journalism? Because if you meet the wrong person, it could be possible that you get killed by it or not. I'm always a little bit confused that they are openly showing that they are the press. I just recognized that.
Congregation, like so much of the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Sudan, has been hidden from the outside world. Even with government minders, cameras still attract threats. Troops say they are worried about coordinates and security information being leaked to the rapid support forces. International humanitarian organizations say around 1.8 million of the 8.7 million people displaced by the war have moved to neighboring countries. The congregation, along with countless others, may well have made the 800-kilometer journey from Omdurman to the source of what little aid makes it into the country, Port Sudan.
And the majority of those we talked to, they lost everything. They came from the far west. Those lost everything completely. They left their houses, their homes without anything.
According to the UN, 25 million Sudanese are in desperate need of humanitarian assistance. In this hospital, Feras found some of the millions of malnourished children in Sudan today, together with their mothers, hoping to keep them alive.
حلينا حاجاتنا واهلنا جينا ناس مشتتين ما لاقين اكل زي الناس شغل زي الناس ما في هسه العيال عيانين دارين علاج والعلاجات ذاتها ما في البيوت زي الناس ما في اكل زي الناس ما في ناس قاعدين تعبانين هسه انا ما بقدر بحكي.
So we're facing right now a lethal combination of displacement, mass displacement, hunger, and disease outbreaks, and that's putting Sudan on the brink of famine.
The thing here is, or what I have in mind right now, it is awful, but because a lot of people complaining that a lot of refugees are men, coming a man, because the thing is, the women in those states, if they stay as a collective, as a women collective, they can still try to support each other. If they going to the track of refugees and going to other countries, the high risk of sexual abuse in refugee camp is really high, and also to in some countries, the child laws and all that applying differently. So in some countries, child labor and child marriage are fine. So the protection of women and children on the track to a safer place can be even worse than staying in the country. And this is where the fittest is winning. Because if you're fit, if you can fight, if you have a strong ability, it is easier for you. Because 100%, if you have refugees, a woman or a child or teenagers going and running away, queer people, they will suffer abuse on the way to their safer ground. And this is I would say this is one of the points why we are seeing more men running and trying to find something and then try to have a safer place or a safer track for the women and children to help them to come to like Germany, Austria, Europe, European countries. So just that you imagine why sometimes the man is going first and then trying to bring the family, because the safer way, if they can go by a flight, it's way more safer than going by foot. Of course, it's always the safer, but just to imagine why we have sometimes a higher amount of men coming in the countries and a higher amount of women or children, because these are a really vulnerable people, and sometimes this is even the track. It's really, really hard for them to survive to the end destination they want to go.
Malnutrition rates across Sudan are on the rise. We have almost 4 million children with acute malnutrition and 730,000 children with severe acute malnutrition. So among the worst of those are the ones with complications, and that's where we are now in Red Sea State, where there are 67,000 children living with severe acute malnutrition. And that's just a small part of what's happening in the rest of the country.
According to the UN, there are 3.5 million kids under the age of 5 suffering from malnutrition. The fighting makes it almost impossible to get aid through to them. Feras found a school taken over by displaced people from all over Sudan. No sign of the congregation from the ruined church, but more malnourished children. Deadly cholera outbreaks have been reported across Sudan since the conflict began. The disease has already claimed at least 5 lives here.
The first thing shock you when you cross the gate is the smell. Because, you know, hundreds of kids and families live there. And the dirty water, the amount of dirt and flies and all kinds of flies is shocking. And the first thing you think about, and this is a school, should be kids learning here now. It's really, really sad.
A mother of 8 children with a husband she hasn't heard from in 2 months, Zubaida suffers from leukemia. She can't afford medicine. Her condition deteriorates day by day in front of her children, mother and grandmother.
آخر الحبوب جبتها قبل الحرب ب10 يوم. خلصت قبل الحرب ب3 يوم. خلاص الأسبوع الجاي إن شاء الله بعد بكرة أطلع أجيبها يوم الأحد. واحد السبت كان الحرب يوم 15/4. تاني ما أخذت تاني ولا حبة. من اللحظة دي كانت بقيت بعاني من شهر 4 يعني بعد العيد مباشرة بعد عيد رمضان أنا بقيت أتألم. لو جاني التهاب نزلة بس أنا بدعب.
Zubaida's mother struggles to hold the remaining family together, waiting for a miracle to enable her daughter's treatment. There is hardly a room here without a tragic story of a family devastated by war. Their life before displacement has become a memory. The children are no longer searching for hope, but simply struggling to survive. What Feras did find was the congregation from the ruined church in Omdurman, now worshipping out of another in Port Sudan. Bishop Sarabamon still leads what is left of his flock. They pray for the end of the war and hope to return to Omdurman. Feras showed them what remains of their former church.
بلدي الجميلة أنا عشت فيها أحلى أيام عمري وأحلى سنين عمري تربيت فيها وعشت فيها ونميت فيها عشنا في الكنائس الحلوة دي وتربينا فيها وشفنا فيها أحلى أيام ما كنت يوم أتوقع أبدا إنه ممكن يحصل في الكنيسة دي كده أبدا ما كنت متوقع يحصل في الكنيسة كده أبدا
كانوا بيضربونا بالدنات والرصاص يعني تعبنا 8 شهور احنا في العذاب بعد كده جينا على راس السنه 9 شهور احنا متحملين بعد كده ما قدرنا.
في حد من قرايبكم حصل له حاجه؟
لا بس جيراننا مات اسمه جاك
مات فيه
جته الدانه قتلته هو و4 أولاد مات يعني قطحته جارنا.
Some of the Coptic Church's congregants, including Sarah, blame the government army, not the Rapid Support Forces, for their displacement. They say the government either bombed civilians directly or targeted the RSF, who had taken refuge in their church and surrounding area.
اللي حصل هارب مركنا طيران من خرطوم طيران اللي بيدقوا من فوق ده مركنا لو كان ما طيران ما نمرق من بيوتنا احنا تعبانين شديد بكلام طيران بيدق طوالي مركني جاري كده دقوا قتلوا 9 أنفار. هل هنا في بورسودان يعني هسه حاولات قال يومي ما نرجع خرطوم لانه هارب طيران اننا ما نقدر نقعد اخير كان قاعدين هنا بجوء اخير من طيران ده اللي بدوك ناس ده يومي اننا خايفين لان ابوه من قتل بسلاح ذاته.
A large portion of the Sudanese Coptic Church's congregation left for Egypt, and many who remain are waiting for entry visas to join them. They are fleeing a country being destroyed by its own people, a country where the death and starvation of friends and loved ones has become the norm. But allegations that the government has been reckless about this human cost are quickly denied.
استمعنا الكثير من الشهادات، وحقيقة يعني غالبية شهادات السكان الذين لا زالوا في أم درمان حملوا قوات الدعم السريع المسؤولية الأكبر على الإطلاق فيما يتعلق خصوصا بالانتهاكات، ولكن فيما يتعلق بالتدمير هم أشاروا إلى أن تبادل القصف كان من الجانبين، وأن الجيش يتحمل مسؤولية عن بعض الدمار الذي لحق بالمدينة.
عادي في الحروب تحصل مثل هذه، ولكن الجيش يتخذ الحيطة الكافية والإجراءات الكافية لمنع وقوع أي أحداث تضر بالمدنيين أو يعني المدنيين.
وأيضا في هذا الإطار استمعنا لبعض الشهادات تقول أن الجيش طلب إخراج بعض أو خروج بعض المدنيين من بعض المناطق.
الحروب تقتضي إذا كانت هنالك أي أعيان مدنية ودخل عليها العدو فبالتالي تعتبر مناطق عسكرية، فبالتالي الجيش يعمل على إخراج المدنيين حتى لا يتعرضوا إلى الخطر.
In response to the accusations of rape and other attacks on civilians, the RSF said Sudanese military intelligence was recruiting people to wear RSF clothes and commit crimes against civilians, so it can be said that RSF are committing crimes, sexual assault and ethnic cleansing. They added maybe 1 or 2 incidents were committed by RSF fighters and they were held accountable. There is no end in sight for Sudan's bloody conflict. The deep divisions.
It's incredible how the people are justifying their own, disrespect to human beings and saying, oh, we didn't do that. The others do it. They started. We didn't do that. And we rape and do all these kind of things, but we didn't do it. And that a state is covering that makes them complicit, in my opinion. And I think this is in a high value, or how people are trying to talk about it. And it's like, no, if we're seeing this suffering, if it's Gaza, if it's Sudan, if it's Yemen, if it's Congo, if we're seeing even their own people killing their own people, this is not right, because we had the same situation in Germany in the last century. So, and where their own people killed their own people. It doesn't matter which religion, which skin tone they had and all that stuff. They, most of them was born in Germany, lived their whole life there, and then their own people killed them. Just because of the non-belief that we are classifying race, of skin color, of religion, and all this bullshit is going around to make us different to each other and fight each other of our differences. And this makes no sense. And this is what we should learn, that it's not acceptable. And this is how they try to justify and blame other people for their own crucial things they did to human beings.
And wounds it has created may never truly heal. And in a war the world forgot, it is the most vulnerable who continue to pay the biggest price.
I've seen a lot over the last 10 years in the Arab world, mainly. Iraq, Syria, Gaza, Libya, Sudan. The worst thing I can imagine covering is this kind of human suffering, kids and women and civilians who has nothing to do with what's going on around them. The worst thing in our work is to get used to see these pictures and not to be affected.
Many of Sudan's elite have left the country, leaving chaos, destruction, hunger, and disease in their wake. It's feared that whoever remains until the end will find nothing but broken remains over which to hoist the flag of victory.
Wow, it was heavy. 100% heavy. If you watch it to the end, thank you for watching 100%. And you are trying to educate yourself in this point and try to understand what's happening. And I think in one point, of course, not everybody can watch these kind of things, but for me at least, if you can't watch it, then try to read about it, because reading sometimes is not affecting that much how we picture them. And to my last statement, if you have anything I would should watch, put it in the comments. I would appreciate it, because I try to make it a little bit more comfortable if I watch it, and maybe comment in different ways that we can talk about it. Because in my opinion, we should still talk about this kind of things, even they are heavy cost. How we say, it's a German expression. It's like heavy food, what we're doing. But for me, it's really important that we talk about that. And yeah, of course, if you liked my reaction, even if it's that heavy, then I would appreciate a thumb up and hit in the comments, because it's making this video more popular. And I think more people should know what's happening in Sudan right now. And what else? Of course, it's a free channel. If you didn't subscribe me, I would appreciate it as well. So after this video, make you now a comfortable state if you have it. So if you're watching a comedy or action movie or something like that, make something right now that you're feeling better after, and process this kind of suffering from Sudanese people. Because what we need to do is we need to save our mentality as well, and in the same time acknowledge them. And but since we are in the Western world, we have the privilege to go to watch that, go out and doing our normal routine, normal life, and being healthy and really comfortable in that. And we should educate ourselves in these kind of things and try to understand why people are fleeing, why people are running away and doing this and become refugees. But in the same time, we should understand that we have the privilege that we can become, that we can be, this is the other bubble. We are not in their place. So we can be still comfortable, even we are in a place of, of a safe haven. So thank you very much. This is from my side. Like I always said, make your coffee, make your tea, or make your hot chocolate. And I see you soon. Have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.